All right, welcome. Thanks for your patience, and welcome to KPC, Kunzang Pale Choling, and welcome to Saturday's meditation class. Before we begin, we always want to focus on our motivation, or establishing our motivation for being here, for doing this meditation together. And kind of dedicating whatever we learn today, or whatever energy we put towards this meditation practice, that we dedicate that for the benefit of all sentient beings. So we use something called our bodhicitta intention, which is the compassionate wish to free all beings from suffering. So just take a moment to really establish that intention and motivation in your mind now. All right. And we're going to, if you have your hand out here, we're going to do some opening prayers, which is called the 7-line prayer here on your handout. We're going to chant that 3 times in Tibetan, so just you can follow along, read along if it's your first time. No pressure to try to chant Tibetan. So I'm going to put it up on the screen here. Let's see. All right. Organ yugi nu chamsam pemange sadombola yasan chogi no drumne pemajung ne shesudrag kodu kandrom mambokor keki jesu dag druki chinjelop shir sheksu sol guru pema seti hum organ yugi nu chamsam Pemage sadombola yasan chogi no drumne pemajung ne shisudrag koryu kandrom mambokor keki jesu dag druki chinjelop shir sheksu sol guru pema siddhihung organ yugi nu chamsam pemage sadombola Yasan shogi no drumne, pemajung ne shisudrag, koryu kandrom mampokor, keki jesu dag druki, tinjelop shir sheksu sol, guru pema siddhi hum. So in this class today, we'll be doing 3 different types of meditation. And the first meditation we'll be doing is Shamatha, or calm abiding meditation. And we'll be referring to our teacher Jetsunma Lamo's text, Stabilizing the Mind. So each week, we always like to define what meditation is, because that word is kind of a buzzword out in the world right now in the wellness community. And what's the actual purpose of meditation? So meditation is the natural state of our mind when it's relaxed and stable and open. When our mind is calm and settled like this, meditation also helps our mind be alert and wakeful. So the whole point of meditation is to create more spaciousness in our mind, because oftentimes our mind is not calm and settled. And I don't know about you, but I feel that way even more so in today's world. It's very easy for our mind to be agitated, stressed out, overwhelmed, anxious, fearful, you name it. So it's hard to really calm our mind and find moments of spaciousness. And just that agitation or that inflammation of mind. Um, it's hard to settle that, and find those moments of pause. And we can think about all the ways that we take care of our body. Maybe we work out, maybe we take vitamins, we eat well. But what do we do for our minds every day? How do we um, give rest to our minds? So, um, just like any other muscle in the body, you can work at meditation. You can work at this if you're consistent at stabilizing more spaciousness in your mind. Then it will become easier and easier to get to that place of calm, to get to that place of less reaction, less agitation. And meditation helps us balance our emotions. It helps us deal with whatever life brings us so we can arrive with a more calm, spacious mind to deal with anything in our lives. So it affects every aspect of your life. It really can't help but affect every aspect of our lives. Um, and it's so important, again, in a time like this, where it's really hard to find any groundedness. It's also very important on the Buddhist path because it's the first step in generating and developing bodhicitta, which again is that compassionate wish to free all beings from suffering. So if we're like so consumed and agitated in our own mind and we have no stillness in our own mind, we can't really think about the benefit of others. We can't really think of, okay, well, I'd like to help relieve the suffering of others too. And if we're so kind of in our self concern, in our self cherishing. So let's take a moment and get in a proper meditation position. And this position just really helps actually just keep our mind more alert and stable. So we're going to have a straight back, our shoulders back, our elbows back. The traditional posture is to put our right hand over the left hand in our lap. We can also put our hands on our knees if that's easier. And then we're going to keep our eyes open, and not like widely open, but just gently gazing towards the floor. Almost like you're drawing a bridge or drawing a line from the bridge of our nose extending out and then picking a point to rest our gaze on that line. And then we're just going to breathe naturally. We also have our lips slightly parted, and we do this by putting the tip of our tongue on the back of our teeth, like we're saying the letter L. So our tongue just rests there. And just breathing naturally. And today, the focus is going to be on our breath. So sometimes we might do a similar meditation like this, and maybe we focus our attention on a flower or a candle flame or a statue, but we're going to concentrate on the breath. And it's not a heavy attention on the breath, it's a very light, gossamer thin attention on the breath. Your attention is like a feather gently riding the surface of your breath. So when any thoughts arise, you're simply going to bring your attention back to the breath. So your meditation isn't lost when you have thoughts. That's very natural. Thoughts are going to arise. It's when you go down the road with those thoughts and you inspect them and you judge them and you say, oh, I'm so bad at this, or oh, I'm doing well. It's like whenever that mind starts to wander and just create more and more thoughts, you just have to bring it back and say, hey, come back to the breath again and again and again. And if we find our mind very busy today, we can imagine even like picking up the thoughts and tossing the thoughts away, or cutting the thoughts like with a pair of scissors. And sometimes those visualizations like that really help cut the thought if we're finding a very, very busy mind today. So let's try a warm-up round. I have a little app that has a gong we'll use, but I think this app is playing a joke on me because every time I use it, a different gong sound is happening. So we'll see. Last time it was a pretty awful sound. Okay. Sorry if it's a little loud. So we'll try this for just a couple minutes and then we'll do a little bit longer too. So it's always good to, when you're first starting meditation, not to just dive into a 45-minute meditation, but actually just start creating some stability with shorter increments. Okay, here we go. Oh, very loud. Again, your attention is like a feather gently riding the surface of your breath. Okay, we're going to increase our time if you need to move at all or stretch. And we'll just try again. Again, whenever our mind wanders, just gently bring it back to our breath. Okay, so we'll try for a little longer now. Okay, the timer started without the gong, so here we go. Okay, so um, now we've created a little bit more spaciousness in our mind, hopefully. We're going to do a meditation that really helps develop our heart. And this practice is called Tonglen, which is giving and receiving. It's done to develop our compassion and our ability to be present for our own suffering and the suffering of others. So, this practice trains us in the energy of loving kindness to open our hearts to suffering and to transform it into well being. So, in this practice, we're actually imagining that we're taking the suffering of others into ourselves and sending them all of our happiness. It's a mental exercise. In the immediate present, we're not like taking someone's suffering on, literally. But it helps us to, gradually cease to cherish ourselves so much over others. And it helps us develop a stronger wish to benefit others, and develops our sense of equanimity to all beings. So we're going to just stay in our meditation posture, and we're going to start, in a simple way, easy way, by imagining one or two beings. You can switch however you want, but one or two beings for whom you easily feel compassion towards. And would also be someone that if you imagine them suffering in any way, that would cause you a lot of distress. So this could be a parent, a sibling, a child, a friend, or it could be, your cat or your dog, any being for whom you feel just great love and compassion towards. So if you think of that person or those people in your mind or beings in your mind, and really take the time to contemplate their suffering. So if you really put yourself in their shoes and imagine if this person's going through something, imagine what it must be like, and really let yourself feel that. And let that well up compassion within you. So let that create this fervent wish to relieve their suffering and to secure their happiness. So we're going to do this by focusing on our breath. So we're going to follow the natural rhythm of our breath with this. So as you breathe in, you're visualizing that you inhale through your nose and you take in all the causes and conditions of their suffering. And it's in the form of like a dark smoke. And then you imagine that they're completely free of all of that suffering, all that sadness, anything that they're going through. And as you breathe out, as you exhale, you visualize that you're sending them and they are receiving all inconceivable causes of happiness, just every source of happiness and enduring happiness. And you imagine that it's in the form of this radiant, pure light. And it's bringing them limitless joy. So you actually see that. You see that, like, you're taking their pain away, taking their suffering away, and sending them so much love and joy and happiness, and they receive that fully. So you might think something simply as you breathe in, may be free of suffering, and as you breathe out, may be happy. So we're going to just try that with an inhale and the exhale. And again, you can kind of switch between one person or one pet or however you want to do that. Well, we're going to try it for a few minutes. Okay. Why does it always do that? Okay. Okay. We're going to try this again. And this time, we are going to imagine one or two people in front of us for whom we feel intense anger or aversion. And this is where it gets a little harder because there are people in our lives that we feel don't deserve our love, don't deserve our compassion or our regard. But this practice is all about kind of, breaking down the walls around our heart, recognizing that all beings are just trying to be happy, and many, many are confused about how to do that. And there are, people who hurt many people and completely go about it the wrong way to secure their own happiness. They do this through power, through force, whatever it is. But if we really, even with, when we talk about equanimity, we say, okay, all beings. We can't have a few people off to the side, like, except for these jerks. It should be all beings when we visualize that, when we think about that. So it's including everyone into that visualization, to that wish of all beings being free from suffering. And oftentimes I think about when it's really hard for me to think or do this practice or think about someone in front of me that I'm like, no. I really try to think of, well, what if what if all of their suffering was removed? What if they didn't have any more suffering and then they just had this limitless joy and happiness? How wonderful would that be, truly? And who would that person be if that's how they were? And wouldn't we want to do this for all beings? If we think of it that way, and we think of it, what links our, humanity in that way, then wouldn't we want to do that in an instant? If we could free everyone from suffering, wouldn't we do that in an instant if we could? So that might be helpful when we are finding this difficult to do. So let's try it. Let's just try it for a few minutes. And again, the whole point of this is to slowly increase the scope of this, and being able to, again, imagine that we're doing this for all beings, no matter what. Okay. All right, let's try. Do your best. All right. Now we're going to try for one more minute. Just increase that group in front of you, to a larger group now, for whom you feel, again, any feelings of aversion or dislike or anything like that. And we'll just try this for one more minute. So again, we're increasing the scope. Okay, the timer started. Okay. So again, we can take this practice wherever we go. You could be waiting in like a doctor's office or something, and imagine that you're just taking in all the suffering or the pain or the illness of anyone in there and giving them just all your love, all your compassion, your good qualities. And just, it's almost like you're like this compassion filter wherever you go. So you can imagine like you're even in like a large place, like a stadium or something, just imagining all these people in front of you. You're breathing in all the suffering, and then, and seeing them completely happy and free from that suffering, and then giving them all of your love and compassion in that, with that radiant pure light. This also works well if you're, even talking with a friend. Maybe a friend comes to you really upset or stressed or sad, just like as you're talking to them, doing, as you're inhaling and exhaling, doing this practice for them, right? They won't know you're doing it, but we affect each other so much. So I think it will, it can bring benefit and help someone calm down if we ourselves can be that steady force for them. So we're going to do one more meditation. It'll be a guided meditation. And this was written by our teacher, Jetsunma. It's called the light expansion prayer. So it's very, that kind of similar idea of expanding that same light out to all beings. So we'll end with that, and then we'll do some closing prayers afterwards. Okay. Let us become still. Take a deep breath and let it out slowly. Again. Let us center deep within. Center deep within. Deep within to the presence of the Absolute. And there is radiance. The presence of the Absolute increases and expands to embrace the physical body. And all of the physical body is filled with the presence of the Absolute. The presence of the Absolute increases and expands to fill our beings on all dimensions. And all that we are is filled with the radiance of the Absolute. The presence of the Absolute increases and expands to fill everyone here. And everyone here on all dimensions is filled with the presence of the Absolute. The presence of the Absolute increases and expands to embrace this building. And all of this building is filled with the light of the Absolute. The presence of the Absolute increases and expands to embrace this nation. And the government of this nation is filled with the radiance of the Absolute. And the people of this nation are one life. Okay. The presence of the Absolute increases and expands to embrace planet Earth. All nations and all governments are filled with the presence of the Absolute, and there is peace. And the 8 billion are one life, radiant. The presence of the Absolute increases and expands to fill this galaxy. All planets, all stars, and all life forms are within the embrace of the Absolute. The presence of the Absolute increases and expands to embrace the universe. All dimensions and all kingdoms are filled with the presence of the Absolute. And in all the universe, there is only one life. And now, as we return our consciousness back to physical form, we continue to embrace all that is and to know union, that we are one. And with that, we will dedicate our meditation practice to the benefit of all beings. And we'll do that with our dedication prayers here on the back side of your handout. And I'll put them up on the screen. Throughout my many lives and until this moment, whatever virtue I've accomplished, including the merit generated by this practice and all that I'll ever attain, this I offer for the welfare of sentient beings. May sickness, war, famine, and suffering be decreased for every being, while their wisdom and compassion increase in this and every future life. May clearly perceive all experiences to be as insubstantial as the dream fabric of the night, and instantly awaken to perceive the pure wisdom display in the arising of every phenomenon. May I quickly attain enlightenment in order to work ceaselessly for the liberation of all sentient beings. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas altogether, whatever kind of motivation you have, whatever kind of beneficial action, whatever kind of wishing prayers, whatever kind of omniscience, whatever kind of life accomplishment, whatever kind of benevolent power, whatever kind of immense wisdom you have, similarly I, who have come in the same way to benefit beings, pray to attain these qualities. By this effort, may all sentient beings be free of suffering. May their minds be filled with the nectar of virtue. In this way, may all causes resulting in suffering be extinguished, and only the light of compassion shine throughout all realms. So thank you all for joining us today. Thanks so much for being here. And thank you for those online as well. We have a class tomorrow every Sunday. Our resident Kempo brought here by the blessing of our teacher, Jetsunma. Our resident Kempo here, Kempo Karze, teaches every Sunday at 11:30 a.m. So he'll be here tomorrow to teach and then do meditation, and then there's a Q&A, and then we do a short mantra practice together at the end. And again, that's 11:30. And you can join in the room or online, so anyone online as well. So I'm going to end the streaming now, so have a wonderful day. Bye.